Okay, so this is kind of where we left off. I'm just going to copy this text box, so Command C, and go to the second page and click and do a Command V and move this off to the side. Because I'm going to make these text boxes the same as this text box. I'm going to, all the styling that I put into this text, I'm going to put into this text. So a good thing to do is just click in here and do Command A, and then click and sample with the eyedropper tool from the body text. So that'll make it Montserrat regular 10 point with 16 point leading. And then I want to kind of highlight this, use the eyedropper tool and sample from about. And then now that I already have that sampled, it should be stuck in my eyedropper tool, and I can actually go through and, you know, hit the trails, which was the other you know, maybe this could be one, just to divide it up a little bit more. And I can just do this. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll add a return. So return in between here. This doesn't look quite right to me. I think it maybe didn't pick up the justification styling. Okay, we've got that. Now, if we look at this, this one is, the width on this box, this text box, is 2.8. So if I copy this, I'm going to just make the other boxes this wide. I'm going to Command V to paste that into the width and push return and do the same here. And that might actually make this, no, that's still working. Okay, so we kind of borrowed from that. This was 20, so we'll make this 20. Still at 16, so I want to just add a little bit more leading in between the kind of bolded headline font and the body text. I'm not quite sure what I would call this if it's headline font, but okay, so we got all these first lines set to 20 just for a little extra. And then this should be set to 16, the body text, and we kind of made our segments of text. So this is the events section, this is the trails section, and this is the thank you section. Looks like I actually need to make my text box a little bit bigger because there was a red plus there, but so now I can delete this because I don't need it anymore. And we can start, you know, just centering these. I'm actually going to shrink these way down because I mean probably need it to start about right here. So we can maybe get all the events maybe on this panel potentially. So this white area is about the same as this white area is kind of what we're going for. And then we'll kind of center this in the section here. That looks pretty good. And then I'll bring this down to be flush with events. Though if you bring it down with this little white box and you're on your black selection tool, you can bring that down until you kind of get a little green set of arrows that kind of shows you that you're lining up with it perfectly. And then might do the same thing to the bottom. And then I'm going to click on this red box and then just create another box here to extend my text. So something like that will work really well. I don't know if I made this the same width as I didn't. So I think I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more because I do have more room down here. And maybe we'll make this, we need to make this the same width, so we'll do Command C off of this box, go to this box, and make it a similar width, return. And then we'll just try to line it up. It's not going to line up with the top of this, it's actually, I'm going to line it up with this so it looks like it's the same. And then I'm going to center it in this last panel on the inside of the brochure. So maybe something like that will be pretty good. And then we can also push W and then go to the arrow tools and just drag out some guides. if you want. Not always necessary because we do have the yellow lines from the template as well where the fold will be. So this will be folding in, and then this will be folding in. So this is actually the inside front panel, I believe. This is the middle, but it's also the back panel, and then this would be that inside folded page. So on the reverse side of the inside folded page. So maybe something like that is looking pretty good. And then we will click on this rectangle tool, and I'm going to add in, actually, no, we're going to use the frame builder, the frame rectangle frame tool. So click and drag here, maybe something around this size. Push W so we can kind of see if it's going to the bleed line. We can adjust it with the black arrow tool to kind of come to the bleed line. And then I'm going to do Command C, Command V to kind of just copy this. And I just need to size it because it doesn't have the bleed on it, so I need it to be a little bit smaller. Command C, Command V, and just line them all up. Make sure they're hitting the edge of that bleed line on the outside of the document. You have to push W to see that. And then let's go to the white arrow tool and select our boxes, and then we will do let's take a look at this. Okay, so I want these 3 images. So we'll do a file, place. We'll navigate to our images folder, and I'm going to put it on columns again, just for easier browsing. And I can try to go through here and find that image of those hikers hiking. Here we go. Open. And the frame tool brought that in. We can do an auto fit as well. You have to do that before you bring it in. I didn't actually remember to do that, so I can always use my command. I can always use my white arrow tool to see my actual size of my. Let's see, is that a JPEG? Yeah, my JPEG. So push Shift and just use the white arrow tool to size it down if you want. I'm going to make it so that it's not super so I can really kind of zoom in on the people so that we can get a good image of them. Okay. And then here, file, place, and I believe we had kind of a Brewfest image, so maybe this one. I'm going to do Command Z. I kind of meant to do the auto fit option here in the property panel. It's not working now. Well, that's okay. We'll just do a file, place. I kind of meant to do, oh, here it is, auto fit. So file, place, and I'll go back to the Haver Brewfest to open, and that auto fit it. I think you have to be on the black arrow tool for the auto fit to show up, and then do file, place, and I think this one was the other one that I used. So that kind of auto fitted it to that box, which is actually really nice. I really like this rectangle frame tool and the auto fit option over here in the properties panel. It's really nice. And so what I ended up doing was I kind of ended up offsetting these. So what we'll do is we'll just take this and we'll kind of come to the corner when we're on the black arrow tool, and we'll just kind of rotate it and maybe just kind of size it up a little bit. Something like that. We want to make sure that we're covering the bleed line. So this one maybe will be askew the other opposite direction. We might need to size it up a little bit so that it's filling the space better. Maybe something like that. I think it might be a little bit too skewed. And then we'll take this one and skew it the opposite direction. Is this how this was done? Yeah, that is. And I actually nestled this one underneath, so I'll send it back. And I'll have to size it up so that the bleed line, so it comes past the bleed line at least a little bit, or right to it at least. And then we'll have to kind of use the arrow tool to kind of line up these, the bottom of these maybe a little bit. So that's looking pretty good. If we do a W, you can see I need to cut this. I need to bring this up just a smidge, but I kind of need to cut this on the fold line. So in order to do that, it's actually fairly easily done. You guys might not know exactly what I'm talking about at this stage, but I will show you. So let's use the rectangle tool. I'm going to fill it in with black and no stroke color. And then I'm going to click and drag it and just create a box. I'm going to push W so I can see better. And then I'm going to line it up to that fold line, or that guide that we dragged in. And I'm going to make sure that this is arranged so it is, bring it all the way to the front if it isn't. And then grab your other box that maybe you want to work with. And we're actually going to use the Pathfinder, and we're going to subtract the frontmost object from the backmost object. So I'm going to subtract that, and that should have basically made a straight, a straight line, which it did. So if we push W, we can see it's a straight line now. It still looks skewed, but it's a straight line on the fold. And I can bring this over just a little bit and then bring it up. Something like, maybe like this. And it's still above the bleed line. So okay, we've got that one done, and we'll do it over here too. So same thing, using that Pathfinder tool, we can kind of line it up with the fold line. So we can cut that image box. This needs to be on top, so just make sure, you know, arrange. You can't bring it any further forward. Push Shift to get both things selected. Use the Pathfinder tool over here, and we're going to do subtract the frontmost object from the backmost object. So that created a straight line as well. Did that? That looks weird. Let's do. Should have created a straight line, but it almost looks not straight. Let me Command Z that. I didn't do it right. So I gotta make sure that this is overlapping better, and then now we'll use that, and that looks better because it's actually straight now. So this is kind of where I left off, and it's looking pretty good. I'm going to bring in those mountain graphics in the next video here. We'll put in some extra images, and we'll do a text wrap. And after that, we'll be done. So we'll see you in the next video.